Hi guys, this is Stefan, poker coach and founder of becomeanonlinepokerpro.com. Welcome to episode 9 of my bankroll building experiment, which is the YouTube series where I abandon the games I usually play at No Limit 100 and No Limit 200 to show you exactly what it takes to build a bankroll from scratch in 2013. So here we are back again with 4 tables of No Limit 25 6-max action. And I haven't really been playing too much since the latest video, so I'm not really going to start off by showing any results, including the latest video. We've made like $50 since we last spoke, so the bankroll is sitting at like 628, which is fine, I guess. We're still running below EV. Played a small session yesterday where I was $30 below EV when I stopped. So we haven't quite been able to turn the all-in thing around just yet, but we're still doing fine. So I guess there's no need to complain at all. And I can see on my party poker points balance that I'm very close to releasing another $20 from the bonus, which is always nice. But I figured we'd just get started, jump straight into the action. So here we are. Just gonna post the blinds on table 3. As you can see on table 4, this is kind of what I was talking about. People are sitting out, people are waiting on bad players. People don't really want to play right off the bat, which is why I was thinking about trying out the fast forward poker. I haven't really gotten around to setting up the poker tracker 4 hot or heads up display, I guess, for fast forward poker, so that's the reason that this video is not really in the fast forward poker mode. I guess I have to do that sometime. But I'm not really a very technical guy, so messing around with the poker tracking software is not always the funnest for me, but it's just such a huge help. It's such a great tool that, of course, I have to play with it. I can't imagine not playing with it. I know some people differ on playing with a hot or playing without a hot, but me personally, I just love it. It gives you an instant baseline for all of your decisions, which is great. Here on table 3, we squeezed, hoping to fold out this epic iron bass and get it heads up against the fish. Instead, we got a call from the regular and a fold from the fish, so not really an ideal situation. Here we have middle pair. Bet the flop, pretty standard, I think, standard c-bet spot. If we check and call, we get ourselves into a lot of sucky situations. Same thing on the turn, really. I don't really want to check and call and give him the option of betting turn and betting river. Now when he does call twice, and he is a guy who's folding a lot to c-bets, I don't really like our spot too much. And I'm thinking if he has a weaker 10, he might check it down. So when he checks to him here and he bets the river, I guess he can have king jack and bluff that. And I don't know if he has a lot of flush draws in his range. I don't think he's calling like 8-9 suited to my re-raise. So what I'm thinking is it's way more likely that he has like maybe a set of 5s or like an ace-queen type hand. So check folding this river I think is fine, because I don't really think he's getting to the river with a lot of missed draws, and I don't really think he's bluffing a weaker 10. So feels kind of gross check folding the river, but I don't think he has that many bluffs in his range when he calls twice there. So that's the reasoning behind it. Now that might be entirely wrong. Let's say he's calling the 3-bet with 9-8 of diamonds, and let's say he's calling down both flop and turn with ace-jack, then the check fold on the river in that situation, and he's bluffing 10-jack as well on the river when I check. In that case, check folding ace-10 on that river is just a disaster. I should be check calling it always, if that is my basic assumption about my opponent. But since I assume that he's playing quite tightly to my 3-bets, and that he doesn't have a ton of missed draws on the river, and that he's not bluffing me out with a weaker 10, then I think check fold becomes a decent play, or the best play, I should say. We get dunked into on table 1. Just gonna fold it here with the ace king because we have no spade. Table 3. This is a situation where it looks like we have two pretty tight folders. So opening up wider than I normally would and min raising is an adjustment I make in this situation. And here it's important to remember that the reasoning we're opening wider than we normally are, and the reason we're min raising, is because people are folding way too much and not playing back. So when we do get 3-bet, just go ahead and fold it and move on. Deciding now that you get 3-bet that this guy is actually 3-betting you way too much, so you start playing back with like Queen 7 suited. Well, that's just you're just undermining the entire point of your preflop call in the first place. Table 4, going to raise up the ace 7 suited here. This guy is a weird kind of fish. He's playing pretty tightly, but he's limp calling a lot. So I don't really know what to make of that. Except I think we can take the pot down a lot. On table 2, I decided to check this flop around. It's a decent spot to c-bet, but I just think that the fish and the loose passive guy in the blinds combined are going to have so many ace-x or the draws, and whenever I do get called with the 2s, I have no equity at all. So in that situation it could go either way, but I think check folding some of the time on that flop is fine. Could bet it also. It's not really a big deal. Pretty much 0 EV, I think. Going to isolate the fish with the Jack 9 on table 4. Looking to play heads up pot against the weak player. This Mr. BLR is coming along for the ride. Decent flop for us. We have some backdoor straight draws. So let's say a 10 comes off, we can barrel a 10. We can barrel a king since a king gives us a gut shot. We have two overcards to the 7 and the 6, which is something that a fish might be calling a lot, so we have decent equity when the fish calls. And Queen 7 the same thing on table 3. I think they're folding too much, so opening the Queen 7 here is fine. And as I was just talking about before, opening up or betting again on this queen is pretty mandatory. So yeah, that's what we'll go ahead and do. Now, when he does call the turn again, I'm thinking that he has a strong queen, like always. So I don't really see a lot of point in trying to get him off of it. If we were trying to run this bluff on the river, what we should have done is bet slightly bigger on the turn, so that it would fit with stacks on the river. But in this situation, I'm just going to give it up here. He does have the ace-jack of clubs, which was not at all what I was expecting. And of course, a bluff in that situation is going to work 100% of the time. I guess that does make sense for him to check call twice with that hand. Calling on the flop to keep the fish in and give him better odds to draw. And of course he's not folding the turn when he has an overcard, he has a gut shot. But I think the majority of his range there is going to be a queen. So and the way we set it up with less than pot on the river, I don't really like the river shove too much. But depending on your opponent, you can try to make him fold the queen there, especially considering he might be 3-betting ace queen some of the time, and I think he's way more likely to fold when he doesn't have the ace queen. Yeah, maybe that was a spot where I should have made it bigger on the turn and shoved the river. We never know by now. But of course that's a situation where, you know, the thing you need to pay attention to when deciding if you should bet big on the turn and shove the river is how often you expect him to call with hands on the turn that are folding the river. So yeah, let's say he is calling the turn with 7-8 a lot, or 6-8 a lot, or for some reason he has 10-9 and he called the flop, or he has 8s or 9s, or he has a hand like ace-jack suited. If he has a lot of those hands that are calling on the turn, then a shove becomes, or a big bet on the river becomes pretty mandatory, just because he has such a huge amount of hands that are calling the turn, folding the river. But let's say he's folding the 8s or the 9s or the 7-8 a lot on the turn. Now his range is way more weighted towards Queen X, and in a button against blind situation, I don't expect I don't expect him to give me a lot of credit, so I don't expect him to be folding the top pair if he does have the queen. So that was my initial reasoning for checking the river. But it all depends on how wide I think he's calling the turn. We didn't get any action on our set of 7s on table 3, unfortunately. I hope that discussion about the Jack-9 hand made you realize, you know, what you should be considering, what makes a 3-barrel bluff the best option and what makes it better to just fire 2 and then give up. On table 2 we have the ace-10, and we get 3-bet by this fishy player who's 3-betting like 25%, which is huge and not something you're going to see very often. Usually I don't recommend calling 3-bets with offsuit broadways, but against a guy who's as crazy as that one, this is an easy call. And here I expect our ace high to be good a lot of the time when he's betting so small. I even expect him to have weaker aces, so let's say an ace comes. Well, if an ace comes, we're chopping, so that doesn't really matter a lot. But I expect us to have the best hand here with the ace high a lot. We can just take it down by checking here. And he did have the weaker ace. So, an unfortunate board run out, but what can you do? Isolating again with the on table 4, making it slightly smaller this time in case something like this happens where he's limp re-raising. We don't really want to get it all in with the king 10 against a guy like that. King 10 just doesn't play very well in all-in situations. And I'm gonna min-raise on table 3 because this guy is just folding so insanely much. So I'm going to be min raising any 2 cards in that spot. Check 8 off, gonna min raise. Feel like raising this up and isolating because I think he's going to fold so much, but I don't really like that his stack is so small, and 2-7 off is pretty much the worst hand we can have in this spot, so I think I'm going to check just this once. Usually isolating, whenever a fish limps in a small blind, or whenever somebody completes in a small blind, and it's folded around to the small blind and he completes, when you're in the big blind, you can pretty much raise up. You can pretty much raise up any 2 cards and then expect to take it down either pre-flop or on the flop with a c-bet, just because the range that they are limp calling with is usually very weak. And if not, whenever you do take initiative, you also have position, so you can just abuse that to win a lot of pots. On this situation, we're just going to fold the river now. He pretty much needs to have a queen or the flush. But the thing is, let's say he's bluffing with like a 2, he decided to turn a pair of deuces into a bluff. Well, then he's still beating me. So a lot of the hands that he might be bluffing is still beating me. So I think a fold there is the best option. And this guy is folding like 67% of the time in the small blind against small blind steals. So min raising there with pretty much any 2 cards is going to be profitable. With the tens in table 1, whenever there comes 2 overcards on the board, that's pretty much always your cue to just fold the flop. The thing about having pairs in your hand, like a pair of 10s or pair of 9s, is that you have very few outs. Since you can only really hit another 10, and there's only 2 10s left in the deck, that just makes it so that they're bad to peel with whenever there's already overcards out there. Folding the jack 6. Gonna raise up the 4s here on table 3. And our very tight opponent wakes up with the hand. On table 3. This is almost a spot where you could consider calling just to try and set mine, but I don't really know for sure yet that he is only 3-betting the nuts, and I don't really quite have the 15 to 20 to 1. And on top of that, I'm out of position. And whenever you're out of position, it's just harder to get the money in when you're ahead. Because usually you're going to be checking to him, and he has options of checking back, which is just going to suck if he does. Got the kings on table 1, which is always good. I don't get folds, which is sad, but what can you do? Folding on table 2. Not really getting into a lot of spots at the moment, but that's the name of the game when you're 4-tabling for the video. As you guys probably know, I usually 9-table whenever I'm not making a video, but a lot of that just comes down to years of experience playing and I guess personal preference. Some people like to play fewer tables and take way more notes than I do. I tend to rely a bit more on my stats to tell me which type of opponent I'm playing against. So let's say I might miss a spot, I might miss a note that could end up in me winning slightly more from that table. But to make up for that, I'm playing more tables and getting more hands. So the way I look at it, my hourly rate for playing is still going to be higher, even though my individual win rate at some tables are slightly lower. I hope that makes sense. But really, when you're trying to do your own bankroll building challenge or experiment, I guess, you shouldn't really be focusing on maximizing hourly. You should focus way more on learning the game, on playing to learn. So that often means playing fewer tables and making sure you question every spot. Like that Jack 9 hand. The more I think about that, the more I think I should have bet bigger on the turn and shoved the river. So that's a spot, where playing only 4 tables allow you to kind of dwell more on a hand like that and kind of take it all in, and so that you remember to take a look at that hand after the session, because that's really where you're going to improve. I think we've been going for more than 20 minutes now, so I'll just go ahead and sit out. Well, I don't even have to sit out, I can just end the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This was episode 9 in the bankroll building experiment. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. This really helps a lot, and doing that you'll never miss an episode, so definitely go do that. And yeah guys, have a nice day. In just a second we're just going to see the ace king just at the end. Oh, we get a fold, so no worries. Have a great day guys, bye.